gates of hell have been opened by Capital Games, and Jar Jar and his band of misfit Gungans are crawling out to cause absolute mayhem in Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, where this legendary is shaping to be one of those strongest legendary teams we've seen. And it's weird to say it, but I think this team might be a little too good. We're going to go over my experience fighting the Gungans, what I used to take care of the Jar Jar, Binks, and the crew this past week at Grand Arena, and then we're going to go into some data showing what opponents used against my Gungans. Spoiler, I got a lot of holds of Gungans, and spoiler alert, we're going to go into the larger data for Jar Jar and the Gungans. And yeah, this team is doing well up against Galactic Legends and non-Galactic Legend teams, especially where there's not a lot of great ways of beating them now. And well, they got Datacrons coming. That's going to artificially boost them even more into a realm I don't even want to imagine. So let's first start off with the gameplay. My plan of attack when seeing the Gungans in this Grand Arena cycle that we had here. Now, for those that were able to hang out a couple days before we finally had to see Jar Jar in Grand Arena, we did kind of some preliminary extensive defensive testing on how to beat them. And we're going to go over that spreadsheet here in a moment, but really the only thing I kind of felt confident going into this week was Malgus. So I saw Jar Jar 2 times, and both times I used my Malgus. There was definitely a lot of sketchy moments, but I did ended up winning. Both times I had to use Malgus versus the Gungans. And surprisingly enough, looking at the data, Malgus isn't even the safest bet counter to take on Jar Jar and the Gungans, which is kind of mind-blowing. And one thing we're going to have to keep in mind with the data that we're about to look at here in a few moments, this is a brand new team and a very odd way of handling them. And unless you've been watching videos, streams, or had the opportunity of doing your own testing yourself, it's kind of a team that could be counterintuitive to a lot of people, because you need to get that shield generator down. You can't get under their protection. So things like a lot of people are using Night System, which is a very obvious no-no because you can't go under their protection. When Jar Jar's around, you can't land big critical hits because the shield generator's up. You have to blow through that shield generator ASAP. So having ways of getting around the Gungans, the Phalanx, as well as Jar Jar Binks with their taunt mechanics that they have, trying to get as many hits on the generator as possible. And if you don't understand how the generator to the Phalanx works, if you get rid of 2 stacks of the shield generator, then the Phalanx taunts. So you need to make sure you have shocks and buff immunities and doubt to really kind of control that so you can focus all on the generator. And then once the generator's down, then there's like a part 2 to the battle where then you got to start working on Boss Nass and working on Jar Jar ASAP. It's a lot of stuff to do. So teams that have a good mass swarm to take advantage of the shield generator, or ways of getting like a big burst of damage out there, or multiple hits, like for example Beskar Mando, we're going to be very helpful to try to get through those shield generators as fast as possible. So maybe with more time and practice this will get easier to counter, but as we know, there's a Datacron coming. I don't think it's going to get easier. I think it's going to get much more difficult to handle these guys. All right, so the second thing I want to go over is what did my opponents use versus my Jar Jar and the Gungans. And there were some very surprising things, let me tell you. So my first Grand Arena opponent used Bane. In our preliminary testing, Bane seemed to be a very safe way of handling the Gungans. Well, the few safe ways, I should say. However, if you're using Bane on Gungans, what are the implications of that? That means you're using Bane here, but you can't use Bane on the Jabba, on all the Galactic Legends practically that Bane can take down. Even though that's good that Bane can beat this, that's bad for your offensive strategy. And even in the realm of Malgus as well, I rely on Malgus a ton to beat things like Reva, maybe Gideon during this cycle, especially with Gideon being super bonkers. If I gotta use Malgus on the Gungans, that takes away them from a variety of other teams that are very helpful for them to beat. And let's just say this was the last time it was smooth sailing for my opponent, because round 2, my opponent tried to throw Night System, which is a very obvious no-no. Plagues don't do anything. You can't get under their protection. Not even close. Here's where we saw something very interesting. We're going to talk about Galactic Legends versus Jar Jar. We kind of saw this early on before even getting to Grand Arena. Gungans were already giving Sith Eternal without a Bane a difficult time, and the numbers are going to show that. My opponent, the same opponent here, also threw Darth Malgus, and they did not have a great day where they had to get timed out and they couldn't even get the shield generator down. And then finally, they threw in a Reva on attempt number 4 and got the job done. And then my last opponent, it looks like maybe Jar Jar completely won me to Grand Arena because they tried out Night Sisters and they gave up. Because again, there aren't a lot of ways of handling Jar Jar Binks and the Gungans at the moment. So with that said, now let's look at the general data beyond just my experience and my opponent's experiences fighting me. So there's a few notes we got to put out before we kind of get nerdy on this data here. First things first, The data that we're going to be seeing here is against Relic Gungans only. There were a lot of like Gear 8, Gear 9 Jar Jars. We're omitting them from the equation because obviously the team's going to be vastly easier then. Furthermore, we looked at all 3 Omicrons on Jar Jar Binks. The other thing to keep in mind, there are no Gungan-specific Datacrons, and to be honest, the Datacrons that we had up until this new generation, they aren't really of help to Jar Jar and the Gungans. They're not really, like, the bonus protection's not important if you don't ever get below their protection anyways. And what that means is you and I have 1,309 battles that we can examine to see how good Jar Jar and the Gungans really are. And what we're seeing is that Gungans have a hold rate of 56%, or in other words, non-GLs are only winning about 44% of the time versus Jar Jar and the Gungans. It's very clear as we're going to go through, this is one of the best defensive teams in the game that's not a Galactic Legend. Maybe the best defensive team that we have right now that's not a Galactic Legend. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go pull up my all teams ranking spreadsheet. If you guys were hanging out with me while we were doing some Jar Jar defensive testing, you'll be familiar with the column here about Squad Arena because I did a lot of testing in Squad Arena. And the first thing I want to bring up is the Galactic Legend hemisphere. Now, again, if someone's throwing a Galactic Legend versus Jar Jar, that is a massive win for whoever's putting the Jar Jar on defense. It's a non-Galactic Legend team, and if you feel like you need a Galactic Legend team, that's going to be a big one, even if the GL does win. But as we're seeing here, a lot of the Galactic Legends are having a hard time. As we're seeing, the only Galactic Legends that were doing very fine were Leia and Master Kenobi. Really helps that Leia's able to ignore the taunt with her call to action. Same thing with Kenobi. There's a lot of ways to call and assist to get that generator down, and he's got minor ways of ignoring taunts. Master Luke barely was in this green territory, 72%, which makes sense, but if you don't have Jedi Revan, if you don't have Jedi Luke and Cal, it gets a lot more complicated to win. But best case scenario, 72% win rate on average. And then there's Lord Vader, who almost was in that 70% range. It could get messy, but he seems to be okay, but definitely expect to get a lot of a beating when using Lord Vader versus Gungans, but hopefully he still can pull out. And then the rest do not look good. Jabba the Hutt, 38%. As we said in our initial testing, Gungans did have a good degree of holding up against Jabba. Sith Eternal, 20%. And the only reason why this is 20% is because of people who use Bane with Sith Eternal, which isn't a great idea. Very inefficient use of resources. Or if you had like Sith Triumvirate with Savage Omicron. Without that, it would be 0% for Sith Eternal. Supremator Kylo Ren, we saw this coming. Not great. 16% win rate versus Jar Jar and the Gungans. And Rey, not many people threw a Rey, but the ones that did got a 0% win rate. So again, for a non-Galactic Legend team that does not have any great Datacron, even a good Datacron to kind of eke their numbers in a certain direction higher, this is amazing for them. And now we can talk about the non-Galactic Legend stuff here. I was able to use Bane and Squad Arena to beat Gungans fine, and that did get replicated well inside of Grand Arena, 92%. However, Bane does have a Datacron right now, but I think Bane will still be dunking on Gungans even without the Datacron. Bo-Katan, another character that's got a really great Datacron right now that's going away. She worked in Squad Arena and also worked inside of Grand Arena. It worked about 82% of the time. If you didn't use Beskar Mando, the win rates went down. Beskar Mando was kind of pivotal to kind of nuke out the generator as fast as possible, whistling birds. Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, we saw there was no chance in Squad Arena, and definitely not a great turn up inside of Grand Arena when Gideon has a great Datacron right now that's going away. Reva, I gotta say, I'm a little bit surprised. I don't think the Datacron made too much of an impact on Reva, but maybe it did. I did win in Squad Arena. I was like, this can't work because the Death Mark's gonna be benefiting Gungans. Well, they had a 91% win rate versus Gungans, so that's something that's another thing that works. But again, this is a top shelf team here, and I'm gonna be honest, beyond your Bane, Bo, Reva, it doesn't get much prettier with maybe one or two other teams potentially. Malicos and Seer Junda, not looking all that great, 40% win rate. Star Killer, 6%, and I thought maybe they'd have a chance. Commander Luke, don't even bother trying. The frustration from Jar Jar and the Gungans just absolutely wrecked Commander Luke in the opening play. Malgus, the thing that I felt most confident about going into this Grand Arena week, only about a 52% win rate. So usable because I, of course, got the win, but by no means does that mean it's the most consistent way of beating it. Afra, 0%. General Skywalker, 27%. Maul, 0%. However, no one tried Magma Trooper with Maul, which I had some mild success of Magma Trooper and Maul inside of Squad Arena. No one tried that out, so maybe that's a little bit better. Harrison Dula and Captain Rex, 7%. Traya was the only other one that seems to be an alright non-Galactic Legend counter, coming in at 68%, but it was using things like Savage, and of course the Traya Omicrons, and if you're not using Savage and whatnot, it gets a lot scarier then. Now, Now, don't be fooled by the resistance here. They're coming in with a 63% win rate, but keep in mind, that is with their crazy busted cheese Datacron, and the fact that they're only 63% with the busted Datacron says a lot, so I would not expect this being a counter moving forward once the Finn and the resistance Datacrons go away. Darth Revan, 0%. General Grievous, 0%. I had some mild success with the Courage on Padme versus the Shield Generator and Gungans. It didn't really work out in the few instances that did happen in Grand Arena. Night Sisters, again, don't even bother trying. Palpatine without Starkiller, kind of dumb. No, don't try it. Qui-Gon Jinn got 0%. Some were hoping that maybe Jedi Knight Revan would get it done. I did barely make it work inside of Squad Arena, but that's because I was able to stun the Gungans. You can't stun the Gungans inside of Grand Arena. Wampa, 0%. Tusken, 0%. Trench, 0%. Iden, 0%. Bad Batch, 0%. Red is 0%. Veer, 0%. Dash and Jedi Knight Luke, 0%. And those are really the main Grand Arena teams out there. So realistically, ignoring Datacrons, your best bets of handling Gungans without a Galactic Legend, Bane, Bo, Reva, maybe Malgus, and then Traya. And those teams are not cheap teams. That is top shelf teams that are used for a variety of good things on defense and another realm of doing great things on offense. And this is where I'm saying, man, I think this team might be too good considering what they're supposed to be. And the fact of the matter is, I want to caveat this one more time. For those watching this now trying to beat the Gungans over the next few months with the Jar Jar Datacrons, the Boss Nass Datacrons, the Gungan Datacrons in general, these numbers are only going to diminish for a lot of these key categories that we picked out here. Now, as I said at the beginning, this team is new. It's a very different team. It's a very creative team, very unique, different way of thinking to beat them. So maybe some of these win rates could improve over time. And of course, Datacrons might improve certain teams. And of course, I am promised you, there will be a new team that will be designed to break through this Gungan defensive line. And of course, other stuff might be discovered later on. Like, I know some people are hoping this. There was like a lot of Thrawn lead speculation hype versus the Gungans that in Squad Arena, some people got Thrawn lead to work. However, we're not seeing that really be true inside of Grand Arena yet. But of course, there's not many people who tried it out, only 10 people, and only one person won. And furthermore, no one used Gideon with the Super Commando and Gar Saxon, so there might be other stuff that comes along. I am a little disappointed that Thrawn lead is not working right now, but who knows? Maybe down the road it might get a little bit better with new stuff that we discover. But yeah, I mean, really, people, with these Omicrons that we have here, where the shield generator is getting more plasma shielding with Jar Jar on the field, being able to copy damage immunity from the enemies, getting bonus turns and mastery increases. This ability right here, being basically immune to daze, staggers, and stuns, and self-cleansing it and turning into a shield up, resetting the cooldowns on the Gungans when the plasma shield generator does a turn. And then of course, this right here, being able to dispel bonus protection and protection, reducing the enemy's max health and max protection, and reducing another way of reducing cooldowns on Gungans. But as we can see, when you total all that together, this is one of the best, if not the best, non-galactic legend team we have in the game right now on defense. Wow. And that's gonna wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen, Gungans, droids, all you fancy looking caddy booty cone heads. I just want to give you this kind of first week update, what the Gungans are doing. So if you are pursuing Gungans, or maybe you're considering it, you know how good they are. Right now, it is a fact, this team is one of the best teams that came out of the game. Maybe too good. This isn't like a multi-conquest team or a galactic legend team. Until then, leave that like, comment down below, subscribe, so you're not missing a thing. And always remember, it's great to be in the Gungan army today.
Gungan style, Mr. Coach Binks. Oh, muy, I love you. Mr. Follow me now. Mr. Going underwater. Okay, Gungans, no dying without a fight. Mr. Warriors. Gungans, no dying without a fight.